And tearing, Benny. Morning to you, mate. How's things?
Well, I'm looking through this Maroons
Yes.
team. Reece Walsh at fullback. That's a given. Xavier Coates, Valentine Holmes, the Hammer, Murray Taulagi. There's your back line, Dearden and DCE. No surprises there. Front row stays as same. Reuben Cotter, Ben Hunt, Lindsay Collins. Jaden Sewer and Nanai as the back row. Patrick Carrigan locks the scrum. This is where it starts to change things up. Harry Grant, Mo Fotuaika, yes, they were there for game one. Felice Kafusi comes in for Jermaine Hopgood. He's got a back injury, so Felice, the 18th man, who played a big part in game one, drops into that number 16 jersey. Kurt Capewell at 17 for Selwyn Cobbo. We are led to believe that he may have picked up an injury in that Souths game on Friday night.
Yeah, obviously a huge developing story. Billy's just named his Maroons team for game 2 in Melbourne. And as you just touched on, Hopgood out with injury, so you see a change there. But Selwyn Cobbo, I mean, there was a lot of talk when Selwyn Cobbo was picked at jersey number 17, which ended up being a masterstroke off Billy Slater because to the injury of Reece Walsh in the 7th minute, which saw Cobbo go onto the field and Hammer go back to fullback. No Selwyn Cobbo. We will hear from Billy Slater in just under a half an hour's time, so we'll get some definitive answers there. It's definitely not form because he was outstanding in game one. And since then, for the Broncos, has been very good. He's not injured. So it will be very interesting because Billy is really methodical in regards to his messaging in his press conferences, which is well within his right to do. Keeps it very much between the lines, but it's going to be very hard to sidestep this one.
So your intel is that he's not injured?
No, he's not injured.
Completed the game against South. It was an unhappy game for most Broncos, and Selwyn didn't have the best
Selwyn
of
had
games.
4 errors, right? Now, the old Selwyn Cobbo would have went into his shell.
Yeah.
He really would have. I was really happy for Selwyn to watch him, and I closely watched him through that game. He had 22 runs, 217 run meters, 8 tackle breaks, 2 offloads. Like, that's some night out. Now, if you looked at that, in that alone, you'd go, Selwyn was outstanding. And I thought he continually tried. He was outstanding in that regard. He had 4 errors. It was, horrible conditions. But the fact that he continually, tried his backside off, I was most pleased about because, as I touched on, we have seen Selwyn at different stages just really sort of go back into his shell and not really sort of, go after the contest. I thought he did that. So, interesting. It's going to be a huge story. It's going to be a developing story. It's going to be a story that south of the border, they will be rubbing their hands together and just trying to concoct whatever they want to concoct and just tee off on us, to be fair, because that's what they'll do. Because in New South Wales, everything's happened rosy for them. I mean, as you touched on, the 3 M's back into the team, Mitchell, Murray, and also Moses, and then you got Dylan Edwards, who comes into fullback, which he only got admitted out of the team because of an injury. So.
We'll go through the Blues in just a moment, but here's the thing with Queensland. And Cobbo was the big talking point coming out of the first game, and it was a stroke of genius. He ended up being the super sub, and no one could have predicted what unfolded in the first 8 minutes, but that was the reason Selwyn Cobbo was there as cover. And, he could cause some havoc playing in the centres, playing in the middle of the park as well when it comes to, the last 10 minutes before full time or even half time where players are tired. So a centre playing in the middle, it just gives an element of difference as opposed to a middle or an edge forward playing back in the centres. And we've seen that. That's kind of been the cover that most coaches, week in, week out, even in Origin, they go, oh, well, he can play back row. David Fafita can play in the centres. Kurt Capewell can play in the centres. It's different, though, an edge back rower going back to the centres rather than a centre going into the middle. They can be found out, can't they?
Oh, they can. Absolutely they can. And if you're referring to, obviously, if Capewell is to fill that role into the back line, I don't have an issue at all with Capewell. We've seen him defend in the centres. He's not there to be a game breaker. He's not. He's there because he's a wonderful defender. He's done the job time and time again. if
He has, but he's also like New South Wales in game one when they had to put back rows there. They were found out, and Kurt has
they
been
were down a player, Ben. Let's be fair. They were down a player for 72 minutes.
Yeah, they held their hands up, didn't they? They
Well,
held their
did.
fists up
They
for
did.
a long time.
So that's where Capel will go. If things go pear-shaped and Queensland need to put a back rower out into the centres, well, Capel will be that guy. I don't have an issue at all with Capel. He's obviously not going to do what Cobbo and can do with the ball, but he can certainly hold his hands up defensively.
Let's actually, Corey, this is the interesting part for me, that we've just run through the 1 to 17. Capewell, Kaufusi are the difference, the players that come into that.
Yep.
Then you look at 18th, 19th and 20th.
Yeah.
Dane Gagai, 18th man.
Yeah.
Helam Lukey, 19th. And Trent, is it Lolero?
I mean, that sounds really good.
No.
Trent Liero. You got me stumbling.
Yeah.
Liero.
From Melbourne.
Yes.
What's his background?
Well, Trent, yeah.
And he has not been on the radar, has he?
I definitely been on Billy's radar. Absolutely.
Obviously he has.
I was fortunate enough to coach Trent Liero in the under 17s Queensland side. Edge back rower, plays in the middle, great leg speed. He's obviously the future of where we're going in terms of the origin. Goes in there for experience. And Billy Slater, is rewarding Trent Liero. I mean, the Melbourne Storm are sitting top of the competition, and they're there for a reason. You go through their forward pack, you would have thought when they lost Bromwich and they lost Kaufusi and they lost, the other Bromwich brother, that they would slide. Well, that's not the case. Trent Liero playing the back row or lock forward for Craig Bellamy is doing a terrific job. And he's a Queenslander, Ben. So he'll go into camp. I don't expect him to play. It'll be a great experience for him to see how it all unfolds. And I've got no doubt if he continues on the trajectory that he's on, that he'll play for Queensland in the near future.
Okay, as a development player, so I get that. He's there as 20th man. But do you read anything into Gagai or Lukey being there?
Gagai, absolutely.
Gagai,
because we saw Kaufusi in game one get injected into the contest. Now, we all sort of thought, well, maybe Kaufusi's not going to play. But the way that unfolded, he played a lot more than he thought. And Gags would be that same person, I would assume. Elam Lukey's another one. The Cowboys get their first bye of the season in round 16. So I've got no doubt Elam Lukey will come in for experience alongside Liero. And Lukey is look, if he hadn't have picked up so many injuries that he has, and bad ones, I got no doubt that he would have played for Queensland already. He's an incredible talent, Elam Lukey. He is the future of obviously what we're doing here in Queensland with the Origin side. Liero and Lukey will get an experience in the camp.
Standing by to hear from Billy Slater, the exact reason why Selwyn Cobbo isn't there this time. 3 weeks ago, it was about why is he there on the bench, and now we're all scratching our heads to say, why isn't he there? Has there been a mystery injury? I mean, all reports coming out of Red Hill are, well, no, you're going to have to ask Billy about that. 13 55 0467 736 736. Kaufusi comes in, played a big part in game one, but he's now as part of that bench in jersey number 16. Kurt Capewell in jersey 17. In Kurt we trust, in Billy we trust. Queenslanders, are we happy with the fact that our team for game two has had these disruptions, and can they get the job done in Melbourne? Again, you've got Murray, you've got Moses, you've got Mitchell, and let's throw in the MCG there as well. Queensland's record at the Coliseum in Melbourne, the biggest and most well-known sporting ground in this country, has been putrid. We've won one game there in 5 appearances.
We just like to keep everyone guessing, so we can come back to Queensland and have the decider.
And have it here. Exactly. Yes. 13 55 0467 736 736. Cozza, we will take a break now, come back and dissect the Blues squad, and then after that, we're expecting to hear from Billy Slater. 9:30, the Queensland coach will be fronting the microphones, fronting the cameras, fronting the media. SENQ this Monday morning. Yes, we are into the Origin run. We will be talking Broncos and Dolphins as well. The Monday means test with Corey Parker. 14 minutes past 9. 18 for Queensland. No Jermaine Hopgood, no Selwyn Cobbo. So Felice Kaufusi and Kurt Capewell, the two changes to that 17. Dane Gagai on standby to come in if, heaven forbid, something happens. We know Reece Walsh is back. But 20th man, Trent Liero from the Melbourne Storm. And Corey, I'm putting my hand up here. I'm guilty of not paying that much attention to the Melbourne Storm and knowing who Trent Liero is. You've coached him with the Queensland under-18s. And Steve's on the line for Collingwood Park. Steve, good morning to you. You know about Trent Liero? Good morning.
Yeah. Hey, boys. How you doing?
Yeah, very
good,
well,
mate.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to actually watch him a little bit when I moved up from Melbourne, watch him at the sunny coast because he was up at the Falcons.
Yep.
And I think he's actually a Sunshine Coast boy too, from memory. So
Nambour boy I'm looking at here. I've done the Google search. Yes, Nambour, born and bred by the looks of it.
And last year, especially when he played, I think he played every game. He was a bit of the whipping boy for a lot of Storm supporters. They didn't like him. He was not really adding much. And this year, Craig moved him from playing on the left edge to a lock, and he moved Josh King to the front row. And just a little bit of times this year, I've seen him. He's come out to put a few big shots on, and he's really started to get a bit more aggression in his game. And I just want to say he actually deserves that 20th spot. And I hope all the fans that were bagging him and calling him all sorts of names can realise that it does take time and he does need to learn. And he's 20th man, and I would imagine in a couple of years he might be playing for Queensland.
Yeah, I agree 100%. He'll be playing for Queensland at some point in time. Billy Slater works with Melbourne Storm still as a role down there, and he would see Trent Liero on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. I think Trent Liero is a terrific player. He's just out of sight, out of mind. I mean, he's played 63-odd games, I think it might be, and he's a great acquisition. So it's a good time to get those young guys in like Lukey and Liero.
Steve, great call. Thank you for that. It just paints another picture and it shows that Billy's also got an eye on the future. I mean, Jermaine Hopgood last year came into that squad, and just to be around them to get the understanding of what's required, if required, and he was for game one this year. Mountain Creek High School on the sunny coast, Trent Liero. So a big shout out to all those on the sunny coast. You have a man who's 23 years of age, Nambour born and bred, and he is in the frame for State of Origin. 20th man, anything could happen. We don't expect him to play, but you never know. It's a long 10 days when it comes to State of Origin. All right, let's run the rule over the Blues, Corey. I feel this is the team that Michael Maguire wanted for game one. Mitchell Moses in for Nicho Hines, and people can cry, "Oh, poor Nicho," but hang on, Nicho's only got to start because there's no Cleary, no Moses. So, so now Moses is fit. He would have been their number two, so he comes in.
Yeah.
Cam McInnes is the same. There's no Cam Murray there for game one, so that's how he gets his start. Latrell Mitchell. I'm looking over my shoulder now. Well, I can hear footsteps.
That's correct. I think you're spot on. I think the team that Madge was after for game one, he is now putting together. Obviously, Nathan Cleary would be that player he'd love to have in the side. But you're spot on. And I said this in the last time. I mean, for Nicho Hines, he well and truly knows that he's the third string halfback. Moses wasn't there. He was injured. He got an opportunity, Nicho, and some may say it was tough because they played with 72 minutes rather with 12 men.
Yeah, but he was minding a spot.
I know, but that's the reality of it.
So
that's how Nicho could look at it. I thought there was a couple of fifth play options that were poor from the Blues, and Nicho's first kick actually went dead and gave Queensland 7 tackles. They went up the other end. So the team that he's put together now, I mean, Edwards goes straight back into his role that he lost, which is fine. Latrell Mitchell is back into the left centre, which is, as you said, now looking over the shoulder. Now, for me, Latrell Mitchell is a walking headline opinion, whichever way you want to look at it, because of the type of player he is, the type of person that he is. But from a Queensland perspective, I look at Latrell, and when I played for Queensland, we had a guy by the name of Greg Inglis. He's their version of Greg Inglis, in my opinion. He can do things on a football field in a big game that others can't. That's just how he is. And playing alongside GI, you just knew things were going to be different. And if GI had that look in his eye and he went about his business and he was aggressive, we were never going to lose. That's how he made me feel. If we ran out onto the field and GI, you had a smell about him. not quite literally, but a smell about him at training. You could just see.
Yeah.
You could just see he was up on his toes. He was upbeat, and you just knew everything was going to be okay. That was the influence Greg Inglis had on me. Latrell Mitchell has that with his teammates. If you look at Latrell's record playing for New South Wales, it is very good.
Big game player. He stands up in the big games from grand finals.
Yeah, it frustrates the bejeebers out of players and other people because you look at him just through a club game and you go, oh, come on, Latrell, do something.
Yeah.
But you just touched on it. You go through the big games, big game player, comes up with generally big plays.
And while he may be New South Wales version of GI and he may be the next GI, he will never be GI because of that, because of the inconsistency. I mean, GI was your man week in and week out, right? You never, or you rarely doubted that GI would turn up.
It's funny, though, but we only remember players at the back end of their career, right? I mean, Latrell's still very young in his career. Like, if he wants to continue and he goes on a trajectory, like, I think it's fair to say, like, he's a dual premiership winner. Yeah, he's won Origins before. He's a player that you don't want to see line up in the blue jersey. However, he will be. And you know, and then you go through their team. Cam Murray goes straight back into the 13 role. Yeah. So for Cam McInnes, he would have felt a little hard done by because I didn't think Cam McInnes did anything wrong in game one. He tried his absolute backside off. He did what he could. And Murray goes straight back in. Murray returned for the South Sydney on the weekend against the Broncos. Connor Watson.
Yes.
Connor Watson.
Discuss.
Yeah. Well, Connor has shown this year, and I expect Brandon Smith to be probably leaving the Roosters based on the form that we've seen from Connor Watson. He is a terrific player, brings high energy, plays well above his weight, not afraid to bite down on the mouth guard and get forward from a lock forward position. And we've seen that at the Roosters when Brandon Smith's on and Connor Watson's on at the same time. He can just bob up. He's got great leg speed, supremely fit. And tackles well.
You know who he reminds me of? Sean Berrigan.
Yeah.
No, a player that can play at dummy half, but also throw him into
Craig
the centres.
Wing, if you go back to the New South Wales, when Gus was picking, and Gus always said that he'd pick his number 14 before anything else. Craig Wing was generally that player. Maybe Connor Watson's a masterstroke from match. And it's come out of left field.
I hope not.
It's come out of left field, hasn't it? Like, I'm sure that he was in conversations, but I don't, and I read some comments from Robbo to say, he's obviously backing his player.
Yeah.
But I don't think in anyone's team leading up to the selection that Connor Watson was discussed.
13-13-55, 0467 736 736. So you've heard now both teams, New South Wales and Queensland. How do they sit with you? As a Queensland fan, are you feeling confident? You're feeling a little uneasy. The fact that New South Wales have picked this team, a team that Madge probably would have wanted for game one. It's close to their near full-strength team. Obviously, Cleary is a big out for that. But Connor Watson, he's missed a month after copying a whack to a throat in Magic Round. He missed all of last year due to a ruptured patella tendon. So he's someone who's worked his way. He started in reserve grade this year, but now he is into an Origin squad. Cozza, what we're going to do, we're going to get to Vanessa in the newsroom right now because we are standing by for Billy Slater to front the media in the next couple of minutes. JJ 0467 736 736. Or you can give us a shout just like Steve did before on the Alltel open line. Alltel, the better business telco. Hey lads, Cozza, how far off do you think's Max Plath is from representing Queensland?
Yeah, it's a great shout, isn't it, Max Plath? I mean, when you're looking at the players, and we just spoke about Trent Liero and Elam Lukey going in as 19-20, I would not be surprised if Max Plath found himself in Game 3 at 20th man, for example. Because if he continues the way that we've seen Max Plath and the way that the game is played now, it 100% suits him. And again, like, you can see Max Plath doing what Max Plath does for Queensland in the near future. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he gets an opportunity to have that experience in and around the team in Game 3.
Actually, that's a good shout. Who Max Plath,
Yeah.
Trent Liero. Who else? Who's the next generation of Queenslanders? If you had to pick a squad right now, who else comes in as that 20th man to give them that experience, that taste? We saw it last year with Hopgood. We know Tom Gilbert was at one stage, just coming through.
Bo
the
Fermor's another
Yes.
name that's been thrown around. Elam Lukey's obviously there.
Yeah.
Like the list continues to grow, right? You go down to Melbourne. Well, Trent Liero caught you by surprise. You didn't even know who Trent Liero was.
No, to be fair, and it's a name that is just not mentioned in dispatches.
Xavier Willison.
Yeah.
Is he available for Queensland? I'm not 100% sure on that, but maybe, potentially. So, yeah, there's a list of players. Pia Kura, obviously, Ezra Mam, these sorts of players are there.
Ezra was there last game, wasn't he? And I'm sure he was there game 3 last year as well. 13 55 0467 736 736. Yeah, we see cameras and microphones ready. Billy Slater yet to front the cameras. Because just back on the Blues. Matt Burton.
Oh, he's got to think himself unlucky, Matt Burton. What else can he do? What
He's got
else can he do?
He's got those bombs back too.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I thought Matt Burton was a shoo-in at going onto the bench and being that Connor Watson role.
Yeah.
But I guess Madge obviously feels as though that they probably need a little bit more leg speed in the middle part of the field.
Couldn't see Matt Burton playing dummy half though.
No, you couldn't. But, he's doing everything he can, isn't he, Matt Burton? He's a terrific player. The Dogs are going well. He's finding himself unlucky. But as we saw in game 1, he is 18th man, so he could be injected into the action.
Because one of the biggest issues out of game 1 was that hit on Reece Walsh by Joseph Suolihi. Now, we know sent off and 4 weeks. And there's not too many that can argue that. You may argue, he did everything right in the tackle. What else could he have done? It was an accident.
Well, there's mitigating circumstances, right? Walsh had absolutely, completely slipped at the time of impact. Yeah, sure. Suolihi did get him high, and 4 weeks, as you mentioned. I know where you're going with this, though.
Yeah, well, I want to pose the question to you, and now we're seeing Billy Slater walk towards those microphones, but I want to pose the question, how is Jordan Ricky? One not sent off and also not getting 4 weeks as well. All right, let's head to the Queensland coach, thanks to our friends at Fox Sport, Billy Slater, just fronting the microphones now. Billy Slater there, and we'll bring you more of his media conference if there's anything that piques the interest, because the biggest talking point out of this, Corey, Selwyn Cobbo, he mentioned getting needled and not playing for the Broncos, but I think it was more the stuff he was mentioning around, consistency, and he's only young and he's got to work on his game. He's been dropped. He's been dropped.
Yeah, interesting to hear from Billy there in regards, it's a collective, and it is, absolutely it is. It was interesting to hear that the journos just dismissed it after his short little answer on Cobbo.
I'm reading well between those lines.
He's not injured, Ben. He's not injured. Broncos do have a bye this week. If they didn't, he would be playing. I got no doubt. And the noise that I'm hearing, he's definitely not injured. And one of the journos who did ask a question about form, it's not form, because whilst he made 4 errors on the weekend, he was terrific. Otherwise, he was trying so hard. He's doing everything he could. And he was terrific for Queensland in game 1. So a developing story. That's pretty much what it is, Ben. It like south of the border, as I said, they'll have the pot out, they'll have the big ladle, and they'll be stewing, just stirring what's going to come out of Queensland. I don't know what the answer is, Ben, but he's not injured, and his form warrants to be picked in a.
All right, let's go down this path. Billy Slater is really stamping and has stamped his authority on this team. He always does it his way, and it's worked out beautifully. To me, there is a message here as well. I don't care if you're Selwyn Cobbo. I don't care whoever you are. Your position is not safe and not taken for granted, even after winning game
100% agree with you. 100% agree with you.
It sends a message, doesn't it?
But, and it's a big but, he was terrific in game 1. Did nothing wrong to not be picked for game 2. So that's where it lies. If he was horrible game 1 and didn't live up, absolutely. And I agree with you. No one has a mortgage on their jersey. It's a jersey you have to play for. It's a jersey you have to earn each and every time, which I think he has done.
Has Billy made a mistake not picking him?
Well, I know Bill well. Played alongside Bill many a times. There's a reason behind why he's not being picked. He just hasn't come out and said it. And I don't expect...
It's got to be a good reason.
Well, I don't expect the journos south of the border to leave it alone. They will dig and concoct any sort of story because it's huge. It's a big storyline. It was the biggest storyline going into game one. Cobbo picked it on the bench, number 17. What's going on here? Ended up being a masterstroke. Walsh gone in the 7th minute. Hamaso back to fullback. Cobbo into the centres and destroyed him. So, there's a lot more around it.
I have a lot of time for Kurt Capewell. He has done the job before for Queensland. Billy spoke about how he's come back from injury and he's under the radar in the Warriors. He's done everything expected, required and needed. I just don't know if this is a stronger team without Selwyn Cobbo as good as Kurt Capewell is.
Oh, I don't disagree. But the reason Cobbo's not there has to be a big one and a good one. So, yeah.